Hi, and welcome to Homo Ludens, a channel on history and board games. And we are here today to play a solo game, which is unusual because some of you might know that I don't like solo games, but we're going to be playing I, Napoleon by Ted Raicer. And I wanted to play this game for a few reasons. The first one was that I have this series that I called One's a Crowd, where I play solo games with other people, which is for me the only way to play solo games, which kind of defeats the purpose, or maybe not. We can probably discuss about it with our guest of the day. The other reason is that I thought the theme was quite interesting, and I was curious about seeing how the rise to power of Napoleon was depicted in a game like this. The other reason is that the designer is Ted Raicer, which is probably one of the most influential war game designer of the last few decades. So, of course, it's super interesting to see his approach on this. And the other reason is that we've been playing a lot of Legion of Honor on the channel quite recently, which has an overlapping kind of dynamic theme, something like this. So if you're interested, you can catch our first two episodes of Legion of Honor, where we're playing with Pierre, Joe, and Liz. We're having a lot of fun with it, and we're going to keep on playing actually in the next few months. So that should be fun. But yeah, and the final reason is that if I did a stream of I Napoleon, I got to spend some time with Jason Carr, which has been a while since we haven't had it on the show, and even me personally, a while since we hadn't actually talked. So I'm pretty happy to have you tonight with me, Jason. That's really cool.
Yeah, thrilled.
Maybe for people who don't know who you are, do you want to maybe briefly introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So for those who don't know me, I'm Jason. I am the director of game development at GMT Games. So I oversee our developers and all the teams that make our games, and making sure that the games that we produce are fun and that they are high quality and all of that kind of stuff. But more relevant for today, I think, is that I also oversee GMT1, which is our internal solitaire game design studio. So we have a couple people, myself and Joe Dewhurst and Bruce Mansfield, and people like Mike Berticelli and Jerry White, who help us level up our overall solitaire game efforts. And sometimes they do that by developing games and making solo modes, and sometimes they do that by sharing what they know and what they've learned. So we're really collaborative in the way that we do things. And GMT1 is a big part of how we've made so many fun solo modes for our games in the last 5 years.
Yeah, and it has been quite it was a big announcement a few years ago. Maybe can you give us an overview of the achievements of GMT1 over the last few years?
For sure. So I'll work from now backwards because I think the stuff we're doing now is the most exciting. So Fields of Fire is coming out as we speak. It's hitting stores right now. Fields of Fire Deluxe Edition, with development work from Andrew Stead and Colin Parsons, and they have just done a phenomenal job of realizing Ben's vision for Fields of Fire, which is just a completely, I'm going to say unique. I think it's a unique game. I don't think there's anything else like Fields of Fire, and the amount of love and time and effort that was poured into the teaching materials for Fields of Fire it's just unprecedented, honestly, for GMT. So that's brand new. We also just came out with Red Dust Rebellion, which has a solitaire mode in it designed by Joe, with help from me and Adam Blinkensop, and the designer, of course, Jay, was super involved in that. And that is sort of the latest iteration of our coin bots that use cards. And it is it's really cool to look and see how that's evolved from the origin in Gandhi all the way up to today, and the changes in that. So that's been a lot of fun. And then along the way, we've done Automa for a handful of our smaller card games: Twilight Struggle, Red Sea, Flashpoint, South China Sea, and I guess I should probably mention Red Flag over Paris.
You could.
I could. It could. Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't a highlight. So
I think it was a highlight. I think it's a lot of fun. And obviously, I designed that one, so there's the obligatory plug. Yeah,
a small bias. Yeah.
So,
but yeah, it's been great, and I've been actually, even though as you know, I don't like solo play. I've been actually quite excited to see solo modules evolve, becoming more interesting, and also having games that are purely solo, which is usually the kinds of game in that category that I'm going to be interested in. I tend to prefer multiplayer games with multiple players, but I think purely solo games are or maybe more interesting to me because I feel like they were made for this, and I feel like there is a lot of innovation over the last few years, and GMT1 has been driving a lot of it. And actually, you were mentioning Fields of Fire, and Rachel is in the chat, and I actually recently asked Rachel to send me a review copy of Fields of Fire, and I'm planning on covering it and having some of the developers actually be there with me, which is really weird for me because I never thought I would be excited about trying this game, and I'm now excited to try this game because it feels so unique and so different. So that's really cool. And by the way, now that I'm thinking about Rachel, I just want to say a big thanks to GMT for providing review copy for tonight, but also for a lot of the shows where we cover GMT material. So that's highly appreciable. And Rachel is confirming the shipping is on the way. It should be shipped with my sixth designer copy of the new edition of Robin Hood. So I'm pretty excited about this. That's gonna be good.
Cool.
But yeah, I Napoleon. So obviously we won't be. I was planning originally on playing the physical game with the camera on top, where you would guide me through the motion. I still have some technical things here and there to solve before I'm able to do this. But I have my new place. I have more flexibility on how I want to move things around. Hopefully, later this year, I will be able to do that. And I hope that especially for future solo games, that would be the case. But for tonight, we're still going to be playing on, I was about to say Rally the Troops, but not Rally the Troops, on Tabletop Simulator. And just a question, is the module available for people who have the game? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so it's in the Steam Workshop. Our TTS module for this was put together by David Kurtz, who's been just phenomenal to work with and has done a lot of our playtest modules. And it's great to have someone who can do playtest modules and then work them out into the general workshop really quickly with my team. So he is helping me develop the expansion for I, Napoleon, which is really focused on a lot of hypothetical what if kind of things, like if Napoleon had fled to America or
that's a wild way to
right. And I think the craziest things you can do are things like him fleeing to America and ending up commanding U.S. troops at some point. So David's working and he's able to just seamlessly integrate that into the module and do testing that way. So it's been great to work with him, and I just want to shout him out because he does such a great job for us.
Yeah, and I think we should always send some love to all the people who are making those modules, often on their free time, whether it's on Vassal, whether it's on Tabletop Simulator, or the great team that is making so many cool modules on Rally the Troops. Like, they are making playing our games together and not solo a lot easier. That's for me, that means a lot. So I really want to shout out to them. Okay, I'm launching TTS right now. While I'm doing this, do you want to maybe give a bit of an overview of what the game is about, and at some point I should start streaming TTS?
Absolutely. So I, Napoleon is a solitaire game where you play as Napoleon. You start in 1793 and you are a lowly commander of French troops. Through the course of the game, you get promoted first to general, hopefully, and then after the coup of Brumaire, you end up in the first consul seat for a while. At some point, you will decide to declare yourself emperor. First consul for life, then emperor, and then the game really kicks into high gear because as a commander, Napoleon had very little agency. He sort of was able to take advantage of the circumstances that were given to him. Later in his career, he was, of course, determining the entire foreign policy for France, and all of the military decisions fell to him as well. So the game shows all of that. The goal of the game is to, first survive, because there are stray bullets, there are diseases, there are all kinds of things that conspire to take your life or your opportunities away. And then the real goal of the game is to accrue as much glory as possible. And so what players are trying to do is exceed the limits of glory, which they do by getting over 100 glory at some point in the game. At the end of the game, either through Napoleon's death, overthrow, abdication, you end up scoring how well you did based on how much glory you achieved. So that's kind of an overview of the game. Right now, the game is set up in 1793. The game is split into 3 primary eras. So the red part of the year track at the top is the CMD era. The track shows when those eras end. So if you get to 1802 and you have, or 1803, I guess, and you haven't become first consul, the game is over. You ended as a general. If you don't become emperor by the end of the FCD era, that also ends the game. And you are known as the first consul. So you really do have to keep an eye on that and know what your goals are to progress to the next era. And so starting in the CMD era, the goal is to overthrow the directory and to become first consul. You do that through a card that is called Brumaire, which is the historical the month of the year that it happened, I believe, right?
Yeah, Brumaire. So for people to understand, after the revolution, a lot of things were changed, and for a period in time, even the name of the month and the days of the week and everything were changed to actually put aside the Catholic heritage. So Brumaire is the name of the month, and 18 Brumaire, so 18th of Brumaire, was the day of you could say the coup d'état where Napoleon took power.
So during this era as a commander, this is where the game does the most work of deconstructing the great man mythos. Things are just going to happen, and Napoleon has to try to take advantage of the circumstances that are presented to him. So just a quick orientation to the board. In the top left is the general record track. There are 4 markers that move along the general records track that we're going to care about. There's the A marker, which is the admin points that you have. It represents Napoleon's ability to run his staff. There's a D marker, which are diplomacy points. You can just push that off the board to the left. We're not going to need that during CMD. It doesn't come into play until FCD. There's a G marker. That's glory. We care a lot about glory. In fact, the way that we achieve the coup is that we have to have 20 combined glory and politics points. And politics is the last marker. It's probably underneath that glory marker. It's red. It has a P on it. Yep, there it is. And that represents Napoleon's ability to navigate the politics of the nobility, the people of power, those who oppose and support him. Underneath that is the year track. So the years in I, Napoleon are very interesting. At the beginning of the game, there's a 31 card deck that you start with, and that represents all of the opportunities that were available to Napoleon in 1793. Some of those will become available to him in our game. And each year, some cards will leave that deck, and in some years, cards will enter that deck. And so you'll notice in 1796, it says add some cards. There's a deck of cards above the board that correspond to 1796, and so we'll add those when we get there. There's a deck next to that that says card 29 or FCD. Those cards get shuffled in when we play card 29 or when we hit the first console deck. So the deck is going to constantly be changing, growing, contracting, and that's what makes the narrative of the game so interesting, is that the cards that you play will limit or open up new opportunities for you through the course of the game. So that's the general records track. We're going to be manipulating that a lot. The rest of the board shows either foreign powers, and cards will get placed into those boxes through the course of the game, representing what's going on in, say, Austria, Britain, France, Russia, Spain, all the different places in Europe. And then the red boxes on the right are Napoleon's inner circle. Yeah. So his family members, who generally are a pain in the butt, his wife, his mistresses, his any political people that he is in good favor with. So people who might end up in the politics box are people like Robespierre. The I, Napoleon box are the things that actually directly pertain to Napoleon. So right now, his rank is commander right there. If we can meet the conditions on the back of that card, which is to have at least 5 glory at the end of a campaign or expedition, then we can flip that card over and he's now a general, and there's good things that happen when he becomes a general. And then below that box is his chief of staff, his minister of police, and Talleyrand. Those are in CMD more potential. They're people that he's lining up to do those things. When you get to FCD and EMD, those would be the people who are actually functioning in that role for him. And then the last thing to talk about before we get going is the box at the green boxes at the bottom. These represent campaigns, military opportunities for Napoleon. So these are the commanders that are part of his staff, the current campaign that he has been assigned to or chosen that France will go after, any modifiers to that campaign. There's all sorts of bad things that can happen. And then on the far right, his strategy and tactics cards, which right now he has the ability to lead his troops into battle, which is risky. He could die. He could take a bullet. But he could also take a bullet and be wounded, and that's glorious. So it's a double-edged sword. And then the face down card that's right next to it, that card is the maneuver from the rear. And that card is can I look at the back of that really quick just to make sure? I think that card is, yes. So that card's flipped over once we get Topographical Bureau in play, which may or may not happen. So hopefully it does. So we get to flip that over because it's a really good card for us. So I think that's an overview. I think we could probably dive in and start playing. And so I will go ahead and kind of start us off here. On the left here, this card draw track, we're going to always resolve at least 5 cards each turn. So all we're going to do is draw from the deck here, resolve them, and go from there. So I guess we can go ahead and get started and draw the first card.
Okay, so I click on draw card.
Draw card. Mm-hmm. And you immediately disconnected.
Oh, did I?
Yes, the joys of Tabletop Simulator. I think you're back. Go ahead and try clicking it again.
Okay, I'm going to try to click it again. Oh, here it is.
Excellent. Yeah. All right, and I'm going to let you say all the names because my French pronunciation is awful.
Well, that's the thing with names in French is that even I could make a mistake. I would say dossier, but it might be dossier, it might be dossier. So it might be a few different things, but I think I would say dossier.
Dossier is a commander. Now we have a choice, right? We can place him into our commander's box and add him to our staff or not. There's really no downside to having him be a commander for us, except that it makes this deck thinner. And when we get near the end of CMD, a really thin deck means that our campaigns could get very difficult if we don't resolve them soon enough. So to my taste, let's go ahead and put him in our staff. So he goes into the commander's box, and we will be able to use him if and when a campaign happens. Then we move down to the next spot on the card draw track. There's no roll, that's automatic. And we play our next card.
Oof. Am I disconnected again?
I don't know.
No, I think I need to click twice. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So, Junot?
Junot, yeah, we already have a commander. Do we want to add another one?
So here's something interesting about commanders that we can talk about. To say can be used in a campaign or expedition by paying an administrative point. Junot is the same. We can play him in a campaign or an expedition by paying an administrative point. Right now, we only get one of those every turn. So it would be advantageous to have more than one commander. And the reason is that whenever you use them, they have a risk of not surviving. But it's also advantageous because if you have more than one admin point, for example, if we get to general, we have 2 admin points, you can send more than one commander when you campaign. So I think we should put him into the commander's box too.
Okay, let's go for it. So we have 2 commanders now. 2
commanders. And we advance on the card track to 3. Again, we're going to play 5 cards for sure.
Yeah, and then we'll roll a die to see if it stops.
Oh, you know what? I just realized something. Let's pause for 1 second. Put that card back.
Okay. Or I'm going to just,
No, just go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So we were releasing that, like the deck was in order. So that's
the deck was in order. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
So we were going
to get a lot of commanders.
All of the commanders. Yeah.
So
it's good that you're shuffled. Come on. Stupid automation. I'm going to do it physically.
That's fine. All right. So this is a new kind of card. So you'll notice that this card doesn't give us a choice. We have to place it in campaign modifiers. So there are 3 cards that in this deck that can come out that can be very, very bad for us. One of them is enemy attack. One of them is enemy guns. And the third one is enemy attack. I can't remember what the third one is. There's 3 enemy cards: enemy guns, enemy attack, and there's a third one that I'm sure we'll see. They make campaigning hard, and so we don't like them. So that goes into the campaign modifiers. And if we don't campaign, those just get discarded and they'll get shuffled into the deck next time. If we do campaign, they will be negative die roll modifiers for our campaign, which is going to be really rough.
So I mean, Murat, I can't say no to Murat. It's. Oh, but I guess I could pick him up later.
So again, there's advantages to having him. One is that he's one of the few commanders who we don't have to spend administrative points for. He costs glory. So narratively, what's going on here is he's such a well-known commander that by letting him command, he takes some glory from us because we're not the ones leading.
We have no glory yet.
We have no glory. So again, this is where the question of deck management is the primary decision that you're making at this point in the game. Thinning it is good. It makes it more likely that you'll get the cards that you need to get to Brumaire, but thinning it too much is bad. So at this point, I think we should just go ahead and take him. But I think that's probably our limit of commanders for the moment.
Okay, so that's going to be a third commander.
Third commander, yep.
Here we go.
So now we're on our 5th card draw, and we have Desiree.
Oh.
So we have a choice. Do we want to woo Desiree Clary, or do we want to wait and try to get Josephine?
So what is the risk of losing glory when we have none?
There isn't, unless it's a cost. So cards like this that say you just lose glory, you just go to 0. But if there's a card that says pay, like you must -2 glory in order to do something else, then you won't be able to do it until you have the glory. So
okay.
So there's no risk to this. So let's talk about this card a little bit. So when revealed, we can put her into the wife box, or we can discard her. If we wife up Desiree Clary here, she's hard to woo, right? If we roll a 1 through 7, she doesn't actually end up marrying us. But if we do marry her, we have a high probability of producing a legitimate heir, which is one of the ways that you get glory in this game, is having a legitimate heir. So
okay. How are we on divorce? That's the thing that I'm...
How are we on divorce? There really isn't much of an option for that, but mistresses will come into play later in the game. So personally, I think she's the better option. There's a card for Josephine's unfaithfulness, which historically happened, that can cost you glory because it's made public. So I say we should go for this one.
Okay, so I need to roll to see if I get married, or do
Correct.
I put her in the wife box?
I mean, the sequence doesn't really matter. So yeah, you're going to roll and you want an 8, 9, or a 10.
Look at that. That's a rejection.
Rejection. Yeah, she decided she has no interest. So notice this. This is a really important thing about this game as well. That card doesn't get discarded. It is removed from play.
Oh, okay.
So you can just go ahead and set it aside. That
side.
card is now gone from the game. That opportunity will never happen again. So,
yes, I did roll. Yeah,
I saw it flip.
Yeah. And Jan, just for you, the fancy hat will come in if I become general. So that's there we go. Thing.
We'll get you there. Don't worry. So the next thing we're going to do, this would be our 6th card draw. So before we draw, we roll, and you'll see on a die roll of 1, that's it. We stop. That'll be it for this year.
Whew.
Okay.
Very good.
So we're going to keep drawing. Go ahead and draw the next card.
Oh, come on, TTS.
It's lovely. This is a fantastic card for us.
This looks good.
Yes. Bonaparte's plans. This is a constant effect for the rest of the game. It's not. It's removed by card 203 in the lower right-hand corner, which means that we have access to this card for a lot of the game, and it's an always available in any campaign positive DRM for an admin point. in the first round. So this is great for us. So we should put that in our strategy and tactics box.
So strategy and tactics
Lower
is
right corner.
Lower. Oh, it's here. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Excellent. And yeah, that display is always a little messy. No big deal.
We'll figure it out when we start. Yeah.
Yep. So now
I need to roll a die. 1, 2.
Okay, that's
and 0 is 10. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Lan. Oh, there's a lot of good commanders to start with.
Yes. So let's talk about this, why we would take Lan as a commander. He has a one-time use benefit where if we use him in the first round of combat, we can get a +2 DRM. Some of the campaigns in the game, especially later in the game, can be quite punishing. And DRMs are capped at -4 to +4. So +2 is a lot for what we have available.
Yeah.
He gives us a lot of flexibility, so we should probably add him to our commander pool.
Yeah, definitely. And we don't have a limit in the commanders, right?
Correct.
Cool.
Yeah, by the time you become first consul, you will generally have a nice thick stack of commanders that are subservient to you, subordinate to you.
And also subservient, I hope.
Yeah.
So 8, I keep on drawing.
Keep going.
The Treaty of
excellent.
Basel.
This is an excellent card for us. So we're going to put that in the current treaties box right over here. And we haven't talked about this very much, but there's these diplomacy tracks here in the middle of the board. They show the current state of 5 key European nations. So Britain is always hostile. Spain, Austria, and Prussia can be allied, neutral, hostile, or the backside of their counter is conquered.
Nice. That's what we want. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Because that's another way that we get glory. Russia can't be conquered, but Russia can become inactive where they won't pursue France at all. So what this treaty does is it sets Prussia to neutral. And once we hit FCD, we won't have to worry about them immediately becoming hostile to us because this card persists all the way through FCD to the EMD era. So this is a very positive for France and for Napoleon, which isn't always the case. So we're glad for that. So.
Okay, let's go on a 1 to 4.
1 to 4.
9.
9.
Cool. That was
all right.
That was nice.
Here we are. Supper at Bukhar. So this is again a must card. We don't get a choice. Yep. So that's going to go into politics. Napoleon has decided that scheming is in his best interest. So this hints at a couple other things that can happen here narratively during the CMD era. One is we could be arrested. And if we're arrested and Robespierre Fall hasn't been played, then we will get a big bonus here. Our scheme pays off.
Okay.
If Robespierre's Fall has been played, it actually backfires on us and we are more likely to end up arrested. So we need to watch for Napoleon's for under arrest to come out. And there are some things we can do to mitigate that I haven't talked about yet. So just keep this in mind as we go forward.
Okay, so we go to card 10 on a 1 to 5 that will be the end. And we get an 8.
8.
Oh my God.
You're rolling really hot right now.
Yeah, I wasn't really good at getting a wife, but I'm good at scheming and doing stuff. Finally, Toulon. This is my great time to actually, like progress in the military hierarchy, hopefully.
Yes, and this would be great because if you campaign successfully here, 5 glory means that you would be able to flip your commander card to the general side. So in this era of Napoleon's career, he was assigned. He was told where to go.
Yeah.
And so we don't get to choose this campaign. So it goes into the campaign box. And you'll notice right now we don't have any way to get out of this. So even if we didn't want to do it, we're going to be stuck with it. And so, yeah, we're going to have a -1 DRM this round. Fortunately, artillery is Napoleon's specialty. So he gets a +1 DRM that those will cancel out. And we shouldn't have any problem with this campaign. So this is really good for us. And this particular campaign is only available for 1 year. So it's great that we got it.
Yeah. So as you said, we have -1 on the DRM track for this, but then we have +1 from the campaign itself.
Correct.
And so how do we resolve the campaign now?
No. There's a phase for that, which we will get to momentarily. So let's go ahead and roll. And what we would really like to see is that we don't continue to draw. Yeah,
I would be worried to draw a card that advantages my enemy. So hopefully I will roll lower than 6. Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Cool.
So right here is the sequence of play, and what we just finished is what's called the card action phase. So that's where you draw and resolve cards until you roll under the required number and stop. The next phase is the campaign resolution phase, and so we're going to go ahead and do that. And we're going to go over here to our campaign display, and this is underneath it. You'll see there's a battle mat that's there that's really useful. So we'll go ahead and use that. And I'll go ahead and walk through this here with everybody really quick. So our current campaign is Artillery Toulon. We have 1 campaign modifier card, which gives us a negative DRM. We have available these strategy and tactics cards. So there's 2 of them here, Bonaparte's Plans and Bonaparte Leads. We'll have to decide how we want to use those. And the first thing that we do when we resolve a campaign, and there is some variety in how campaigns are resolved. For example, the Spanish Ulcer is resolved in a different way later in the game. But for now, we'll just focus on the main way that things happen. We have to decide what commanders are coming with us. So we're sent on campaign, and we have to decide who we're bringing. We have 4 commanders that we can choose from right now. We have to pay to bring them, whether or not we actually use them. So admin points don't carry over round to round. We might as well use them.
And we know that we cannot use Murat yet because we don't have glory to spend.
Exactly, and he's not King of Naples, so we can't.
So it's going to be between those 3.
Exactly. And remember, we also have Bonaparte's Plans, which costs an admin point to use and gives us +1 DRM.
Okay, and let me check how many administration points we have. We have 3. Okay. So we might use this. So we're going to have 1 spent. Yeah, I don't want to use land yet.
Now, these commanders are not lost if we use them with the basic, with their basic ability. They're only lost if we use their stronger version. So
yeah. So I'm just going to look at the first thing. Well, I mean, all of them do more or less the same thing at their weakest option. -1 administrative point to use +1 DRM in any combat round. And this is what they all do. So I guess I'm going to take Juno.
Very good.
Yep. And now we have this. Do I need to make it? So sorry. So we've chosen the assigned commander.
Yes.
Where do we go from here?
The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to calculate our DRM. So right now we know that we have -1 from the enemy attack and +1 from the campaign card. So that's 0. We know we can get +1 from Bonaparte's Plans by spending an administrative point. So we should do that to get +1.
Definitely. So I'm going to spend an administrative point. So that's going to put me at +1. And I'm going to decrease administrative point by 1.
And then we have to decide if we want to use, if we're going to actually use Junot, which we should. We brought him.
Yeah.
That's what he's there for. So that's going to give us another DRM.
Okay, so that's going to be 1 less administrative point.
Nope, we already spent that. So we only spend it once. So we should have 1. We should have 1 point. We spent it when we brought him, not when we use him.
So okay, so I should have already spent him. Okay.
Yes. And then the last question that we have to decide is whether we want Bonaparte to lead. Now, if we do, we'll have to roll a die after the campaign and find out if he survived. There's a 20% chance he won't make it. And that brings us to a point that we should highlight for people, which is that there's a marker over by the sequence of play that says Napoleon's luck on it. And this is one of the really core resources that you have, is that one time per turn, you can re-roll a die, or you can discard your drawn card and replace it with a new one. So in this case, we would be able to roll twice at some point during the campaign resolution process. Now, we are going to have multiple die rolls here, so it is risky. Rachel is right. It's risky for year one, Napoleon leading from the front.
I mean, if I can re-roll twice, I only have a 4% chance of dying, you know?
That's true, but if the campaign itself fails, that could be bad. So I say no guts, no glory. We should go for it.
I think we should go for it. I mean, come on. So that might be a very short stream. Just saying.
It might be. But that's not, you don't become a glorious commander of the French armies without taking a little bit of risk. So
someone is saying regarding the DRMs that the +1 from Toulon is not for the first round.
+1 for Toulon is not for the first round. I'm sorry, that's right. It is. That's correct. It's for all rounds. Thank you for pointing that out. It actually doesn't end up mattering because we would have been at +5, so we're going to be at +4, which is our maximum DRM anyway. Yep. So just so everybody follows that, it's +3 from Bonaparte, +1 from Junot, and +1 from Bonaparte's plans, and -1 from enemy attack. So that comes out to a +4. So Fred, I'll leave it to you to roll the die, but basically what we're going to do here is we're going to roll, and in the bottom center of the board, there's a table that shows the outcomes. It's reprinted on the battle mat.
Well, if I have +4, like I can't even make so my minimum is going to be a stalemate.
That's right, but stalemates give you a -1 in the next round, and the DRM do not carry over, so we would be -2 next round. So we really do need to make this roll. So just don't roll bad.
That's not my my main. Not really good at rolling, especially when it matters. Let's go for it. So 4 + 4, 8.
Good enough.
Bloody
so you
victory.
Got a bloody
I would
victory.
accept it. Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. A bloody victory means you won, but a lot of soldiers died. For Napoleon, right now, as a commander, he doesn't care. There are no political repercussions for him for that.
I don't care. Yeah, definitely.
But once you become first consul, the bloodiness of the battles starts to matter politically, and it will modify your domestic politics roles, and that's no fun. So something to watch for later. But for now, hey, we won. So if you look at the bottom of the Artillery Toulon card, it'll tell you what the impact of our victory is.
So victory +5 glory, +1 politics, and I wasn't defeated. So let's go for this.
So we've got our first taste of glory.
Oof,
hopefully to be repeated.
Glory.
And then we gain some political clout as well.
Very, very cool.
Very good. Now we need to resolve the commanders and everything else. So because there's multiple rounds, I'm going to show you some things that would only really matter because we have more than one round. The first thing is anytime we actually use a commander, we flip it over after we're done. We have not.
No, we have not checked for death.
Not checked for death yet. And then Bonaparte's plans was used, and Bonaparte leads was used. And so that way we would mark and know we use these cards. If there were multiple rounds of combat, we wouldn't be able to use them multiple times. So now we're going to start off by checking to see if our commander who supported us survives or is dead. So we flip the card and you're going to roll, and on a 1 or a 2, our friend Junot doesn't make it.
Come on, Junot. We need you. Well, look at that. Oh,
excellent.
He actually looks even younger after this campaign.
That's right. Now, if he hadn't made it, he goes to the discard pile. That doesn't necessarily mean he died. It just means that he had a wound severe enough that he had to retire for a time.
Yeah.
But he's still available for us. Next, we flip over these cards one at a time. In this case, we do need to roll to make sure that we resolve Bonaparte leading. So go ahead and roll and find out if we died. Again, a 1 or a 2, we die. A 5 is the best result. We didn't die, but we did get
I get wounded and I get glory. This is awesome.
Glorious wound.
Oh, yeah.
So 5 more glory, and that goes back to the strategy box. And then the last card has no roll associated with it. It just goes back to the strategy box.
There an impact to being wounded, or?
No, it's considered to be a pretty superficial wound.
Oh, that's perfect. That's exactly the kind of wound that I like.
The kind of wound you can parade around, but not one serious enough that it impacts your career.
You see this? Yeah.
The campaign card itself, we don't do that campaign again, so that just gets removed.
Okay, so you put it, yeah.
And then the enemy attack card gets discarded. This is one of the generic things. It's never removed from the game. So you could be an emperor and you could be suffering from the impacts of an enemy attack, which is no fun. All right. So that is the end of our campaign, which means that we can resolve the back side of the commander card here, which says that at the end of any campaign or expedition, if you have 5 or more glory, you may flip this face up.
Whoop.
General Bonaparte. Sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah, I need to get my hat. I'll be back. Very
good. While Fred is gone, I'm going to talk about him, I guess. I have no witty things to say. Love the hat. It is exceptional.
It's hard to put with the headphones. I need to find a system. I need to figure out something.
So the main thing to note about becoming general is that you have a better staff. So you get 2 administrative points every turn instead of 1. So excellent. I love it. The chin strap suits you.
It's not working really well, but I'm still going to wear it for a minute. Just
You're
to
committed.
entertain.
You're committed. Yeah. So we'll get 2 administrative points during the income phase of turn 2. It's also worth noting over here, up by the general records track, there's a set of counters that you can use to track these things. So we have some, we could put a +2 administrative points counter down here underneath the track just to remind ourselves that that's how much our income is right now.
Yeah.
So these are mostly just mnemonic counters. Okay, so that's the end of the campaign phase. If you look at the sequence of play, you'll see that the next 2 phases only happen during FCD and EMD. So Napoleon didn't really have the ability to influence foreign policy or domestic policies at his level as a general. So we can just skip those and we go to the cleanup phase. So during the cleanup phase, we're going to clean up anything that's been exhausted or needs to be returned to a deck, or flip over the Napoleon's luck counter if it was used. We don't have anything to clean up right now. So we will move directly into the next year, I guess. So here we do. That's it. So that's 1 year of I, Napoleon.
Easy.
So why don't we go ahead and do 1794?
Yep.
So during the year setup phase, you do 2 things. You advance the year marker and you take your income.
So my income is +2 administrative.
+2. Normally, the diplomacy points and admin points reset every turn. Someone said that the admin points carry over from turn 1 to turn 2. I don't actually remember that, but that's fine. It's not going to change anything for us. Glory and politics points persist between turns.
Yeah.
So you want to accrue those as much as possible. And again, just a reminder, we need 20 combined glory and politics to pull off our coup. We are currently at 11. So we are making good progress.
10. We're at 10.
Combined points.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Card deck phase. So the card deck phase, what we do here is we, again, just do 2 things. The first is we're going to remove everything from this deck that has 1794 printed in the lower right-hand corner. And I'll just go ahead and do that really quick because I know which cards they are. So Artillery Lyon and Advisor to the Turks are not available any longer. Those opportunities came and they went, and there's not much we can do about it. And then I think that might be all that we remove this turn. It is.
And we don't bring anything in before 1796.
Right, unless card 29 is played, which is Robespierre's Fall.
Okay.
Go ahead and hit the return and shuffle button. So that's going to return the discard. I don't know why it's not working for you. Works fine for me. So that returns the discards to the draw deck. You'll notice we played 11 cards out of this deck. They were either removed or we played them. So the deck is now a lot thinner than it was 1 year ago, which means that if we campaign, we are more likely to have those bad cards. So we're looking for sick leave that gets us out of campaigning if we don't want to go on the campaign that we're offered. We're looking for Robespierre, who can get us out of campaigning, or an expedition, which is good. Or we're looking for cards. We would love to get a campaign that gives us some glory where we don't have to deal with any negative.
So, yeah, that would be pretty awesome. So should I draw a card?
You should. We're in the card action phase now.
Whoop.
Card 29. There it is. So,
but I don't want Robespierre to fall yet.
Well, that's the way of the world, right? Things happened to Napoleon. He just made the best of them. So we're going to immediately remove Robespierre from the game. So I will grab him out of the deck here. And then we are going to have, so here is our friend who has unfortunately met an untimely end. And then we're going to take the card 29 or FCD deck up here, and we're going to bring those cards into play. Now, I want to talk about this deck before we just click the button here, because we haven't really talked about the cards that are in these decks. The top card here is just a divider that you can do to put these on the cards to mark the different decks so that you know which cards belong to which decks. But if we take that divider card off, the cards underneath are either placed cards or they are shuffled into the deck. And so when we click this button, it's going to take the cards, and some of the cards are going to get put into boxes on the map according to the instructions on the back side of the cards.
Okay.
Other cards are going to end up shuffled into the deck. So I'll go ahead and click that. Those cards will all get put into their appropriate places. And in the card 29 or FCD deck, I guess there are no placed cards, which is great. That keeps it nice and simple.
So this one gets this card removed from play, I guess.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if we had a campaign or we had any campaign modifiers, there's some instructions about that as well. That was card 1.
Okay. Now I'm worried about this under arrest card. Is it already in the deck?
The under arrest card is in the deck now, yes.
Ooh.
Okay.
That sounds nice.
So this is an expedition. Expeditions are not campaigns. Expeditions are resolved immediately. In this case, we can't have a commander support us. We have to do it on our own. This card is on no risk for us. If we succeed, we get some glory, and if we fail, nothing happens. So we might as well roll it and hope that we get a 6 through 10.
Look at this.
That will work great. So that's going to be 3 glory. And then you'll notice in the lower right-hand corner of that card, that B with the arrow, that means we remove it once we play it. So it's gone.
Card 3.
We're doing great.
I think we're doing...
You're an excellent Napoleon so far.
The hat helps, I think.
I think it's the hat.
Marmont may place in commander. He's not loyal.
So let's talk about loyal, because this trips people up a lot. There's a card in the EMD deck where basically there's a traitor. And if that card gets played, your commanders go through a loyalty test to see which side they take. So this is another one of those long game ripple effect things that you would want to watch for. But if we take him as a commander, and for our game we should, there's no reason not to. We may want to aggressively use him.
Yeah, hopefully he can die during a campaign.
That's right. That's right. That's what you're looking for.
So I'm taking him. We're going to card 4. Next card.
Capturing a general. So this is an opportunity for more glory.
That's actually pretty good. Yeah. So this is a campaign modifier. So I'm going to put it over there.
And again, no options here. This is just an opportunity that presents itself that we may or may not be able to take advantage of. And then here we are.
Napoleon so I'm going to lose 1 politics.
Yes. So I don't know if everybody knows, but Napoleon had a brief and somewhat ill-fated foray into espionage. and this card captures that. So we're going to roll the die and don't get a 1. You got the 1. So we would either have to spend 5 glory and 2 politics points to get ourselves out of it, or Napoleon's captured and the game ends, and we don't have the politics points. So guess what we're going to do?
We're going to use the luck counter.
Use our luck to reroll that die. And again, we could have used our luck proactively to just skip this card, but there was only a 1 in 10 chance of something going bad. Why would we do that?
Why would you do that? Yeah.
That would be silly.
Go ahead and roll it again. There is a question about the hat. It's not backward. It is in the right position. Normally I have a small Republican thing that I put on it, but it's on the Phrygian hat, so I would have to change it over and everything. So you'd have to go with a plain black hat. So I roll again, and hopefully I don't roll a 1 once again.
Oh, somebody did point out it's -5 glory or -2 politics, not and.
Yeah.
So we could have taken the glory. But why would we do that?
No. I don't want to use the glory.
We want the glory. We want the glory.
Like I got a wound for that glory. So I'm not gonna just no.
The moral of the story is read the entire card carefully, and every word matters.
And then I remove this card from play. So pretty straightforward. Now we go into card 6, and now if I roll a 1, that's the end of the round. Hey!
End of the round.
Well, I'm actually happy that it ends now, because I want to go to...
No need to worry about being under arrest. We're fine.
That will never happen, Rachel.
It's not possible.
Never.
Nothing bad can happen. So that's it for our card actions. So we're going to go to the campaign resolution phase, and you'll notice there is no campaign.
Good.
So that means that no general is going to be captured. We can just discard the capturing a general card with no effect.
So we don't keep it from 1 year.
That's the trade-off, right? Campaigns are the primary way you're going to get glory in this game, because that's what's glorious about this time period, is winning on the battlefield.
So this is done, campaign resolution. Then diplomatic, domestic, nothing happens. Now we clean up.
Yep. So I guess put the card draw marker back to 1. We flip Napoleon's luck over, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and we go to 1795.
So again, we're gonna do a quick check through the deck to see if anything needs to be removed in 1795.
I'm gonna give myself. Do I lose the administration then?
You do. So administrative points get set back to 0, and then you will.
And then I get 2.
So there is a 1 card that is removed in 1795.
Oh, Vendée, yeah, makes sense.
So that is gone, and we return and shuffle.
Yeah, I guess it's good that we're not taking part in this one. Like historically, we avoided it, so that's
right. There's no glory in killing Frenchmen.
No, definitely not. Especially when it's kids and women. So
that's right.
That's great.
So yeah, we dodged a bullet, literally or metaphorically there. And we
go to
card deck. We prepared the deck, so we go into the card action phase.
Card action phase.
So you'll see once you get the steps down, it goes fairly quick.
May place in I Napoleon. May remove from play to ignore. Oh, awesome! This is exactly. You see, Rachel, come on.
Nothing bad can happen.
Yeah, if it happens, I escape.
Escape.
Fine. I would say like Robin Hood. It's.
I think this has my favorite illustration of any card in the game.
It looks like a British.
I'm sure it's from a British cartoon or British
yeah, it looks British.
Yeah. But it's still amusing to me. Card 2.
Sorry. Card 2, and
look at that, under arrest.
Woo!
The cards are just falling your way today. So escape is in play. We can just remove both of these cards, and this card is like it didn't happen.
Take this, Rachel, you naysayer.
I got it.
Cool. Card 3. I'm not a great spy. I'm not a great lover, but I know how to escape and dodge bullets, which I think is. Oh, this looks good. Yeah. So we roll die, remove for pay.
It's okay. This is an expedition. This is where we can start to use our commanders in different ways. So for this one in particular, we can take one of our commanders and send them on this expedition, and they will increase the odds that we successfully navigate this expedition to Corsica. So, is that right? Did I not read the whole escape card? Yeah, lose all glory. Still,
What?
yeah. So yeah, let's talk about that. We move too fast. This is always.
I don't want to talk about it.
Well, it's.
Am I still a general?
We can't afford to roll this. There's a 40% chance. So this is always one of those tough decisions in the game. There are a handful of these in CMD. They're just not. There's a lot more of them in FCD and EMD where you get to kind of plan turns ahead with your campaigning. Here we're very reactive because Napoleon was very reactive. So escape here, we would lose all our glory and glory and politics points, and we can't campaign or go on expeditions for the rest of the year. Here's basically what's coming down the pipeline for Napoleon. There's a couple campaigns, but the big campaign, the big opportunity for him to make his mark would be for him to go to Egypt and then Syria and bring back the Rosetta Stone. We're probably not going to get there in our playthrough. We're just kind of, pushing cards around.
Yeah.
But those come in 1796. And so a savvy player may not mind the fact that their glory is being removed here because
I'm fine. My only question is, do I stay general?
You stay general.
That's fine. It's like it's okay. I'm happy losing all of my glory. I think that's completely fine.
This is just one of those choices that players have, and when you play in person, these turns go pretty quickly. So we're still early enough in the game that dying and resetting wouldn't be a big deal if we were playing physically. But since we're on TTS and we're on a stream, let's play conservative and let's go ahead and use escape to get out of the mess. So that does mean that we can't go to Corsica.
Yeah. And that also means that as it's going to be out in 1796, I can put it straight into the
that's fine.
Out of play box.
Draw your next card.
Oh, what happened?
Did I delete that card? I'm sorry. 1 second.
Yeah, you did.
I had to go backwards, so I'll fix it up here. There you go.
Oh, this says must. That doesn't sound good.
Yeah, so if we have it, we have to lose it. But But we don't have any, so there's nothing to lose here. That card is played, so we remove it from the game.
Okay, so we're fine. Actually, it was perfect to lose all of our glory.
We would have lost some of it anyway, and probably would have lost some on the Corsica campaign or the Corsica expedition. So we're okay.
I think it was the best life decision I ever made.
Okay. And then a riding accident.
Oh, God.
So there's a little bit of nuance to this, but basically Napoleon falls off his horse, breaks his leg or whatever, while escaping, obviously, right? So we're going to advance the card draw track, and in this case, that triggers a die roll.
Okay.
So go ahead and roll.
So
we would continue to draw, but because of riding accident, what we're going to do instead is you're going to draw the next card and ignore it unless it's an Austria, Britain, Prussia, or it's a commander. So
it's a commander. Yeah.
We draw that, we ignore it, and we discard riding accident from play. All the rest of the text on riding accident is just explaining that if we had failed that die roll, we would skip the first card of the next turn.
Okay. So now I roll for card draw 7.
Got it.
Talleyrand. That's good. So I will place him in Talleyrand, and then we can see what he does.
He's going to give us diplomatic points every turn, which is great. But that doesn't start until FCD or EMD. So he's great to have because he enables you to gain diplomatic points, which are very important. They are the only way that you really have to modify your foreign your diplomacy rolls. So we're definitely going to be wanting to have those later.
And it's a 7, so I keep drawing.
You've been drawing a lot of cards.
Yep. Enemy attack. I don't
So
care. I'm not gonna do. I'm not gonna do a campaign anyway.
We don't actually need it because of our escape. We ignore.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do a campaign, so it doesn't matter. So I can leave it here.
Matter.
Yeah. 9. I keep drawing.
Wow. You're on fire.
Immediate effects. So +2 politics, and then I remove this card from play.
Not all the cards are bad.
Yeah, that's a good change. I keep politics from one round to another, or we lose it?
You keep politics.
Okay, that's
really good. We're aiming for a total of 20 so that we can trigger Bruno.
Well, I lost quite a few.
You did, but it'll be okay.
Oh, and I keep on drawing cards. Look at this.
Sick leave. So this is another card that's very good. That could be very good for us. It lets us ignore a campaign or an expedition. So that's going to go up into the Napoleon box. And one time we can basically say, I'm going to discard sick leave to get out of an expedition. Usually,
but it does say that in 1796 it gets removed. If it's in the Napoleon box, it's safe.
No, so we're actually not going to end up getting it.
Yeah, so we're not going to need it. I can remove it anyway. Yeah,
that's right.
I'm going to roll again, and this is done.
It would be hysterical if we could keep sick leave for Waterloo, but alas.
Yeah, that would be pretty awesome. It's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to step out of this one.
Not feeling well, guys. So we would go to campaign resolution. There is no campaign to resolve. We skip the diplomatic and domestic phases. We go to cleanup, in which case we reset the card draw, we reset luck, and we are in 1796.
Yeah, I'm not going to move administrative because mine I go back to 0, then +2, it doesn't change. Good.
And I'm going to go ahead and add and place the cards for 1796. So in this case, a couple cards did get placed, just so people can see what they are.
Oh, Fouché's in play now. Okay.
Yep. So we have our Minister of Police. He will cause us to lose glory but gain politics, but that doesn't start until the FCD era. At any time, we can fire him, and he flips face down. And when he is flipped face down, he doesn't cause us to lose our glory or our politics, which is great. The glory loss can be way worse than the politics point gain. It just comes down to what's on the board. And if you have a lot of glory, sometimes you can use him to good effect. He does give us a die roll modifier for Brumaire. So keeping him face up through CMD may be useful if we don't have other positive DRM.
Yeah.
And then two new things on the edges of the board that you'll see. One is the Treaty of Campo Formio, which is a new concept. So some campaigns, after you play them, if you use politics points or sometimes as a guaranteed action, you can implement a treaty, which gives you more glory, and it gives you some insulation against nations immediately turning hostile. So the turn that you put the treaty into effect, you don't have to roll for that nation. And then on future turns, they have to break the treaty first before they become hostile. So there's some good benefits to having treaties. And then in the lower part of the edge of the board there, below Campo Formio, is the Syrian campaign, which is a potential campaign. And that card is farther down, next to the strategy and tactics box.
Oh, yeah.
And that card is played after the Egyptian campaign. So one of the things that we're trying to do this turn, if possible, is campaign in Egypt. Yeah. And that would be awesome because we have the right commanders. We would love to play Topographical Bureau first, but we have the things that we need to be successful there. So that would be kind of our short-term goal.
The other thing that I'm going to do for cleanup is that I'm going to remove this card because it's not relevant anymore.
That's right. And actually, there's a handful of cards that are removed in 1796 that I'll just go ahead and take out of the deck here. This is the last turn that has significant removal of cards for a while, at least. The first few turns have quite a bit more removal. So you can see all the things that didn't happen this game that could happen in another game. And that's it. So we're good. Shuffle the deck up. And then you did income?
Yeah, but I only had the administrative points. Yeah.
Very good. So that was the card deck phase, and we can go ahead and move to the action phase. And this is probably going to be our last turn for this game, I would suspect.
Masséna, -2 glory, so a bit like Murat. I still think I'm gonna take him in.
Yep, I would at this point. We don't have a super thin deck, and we haven't seen some of the key cards for Brumaire, so it's good to continue to thin the deck out.
Oh, yes.
There's our topographical bureau. So we're going to gain 1 political point and flip the maneuver to its front side.
A backside, actually. Sorry.
Ted has informed me that is an inside joke in the army at the time, that they intentionally called it this as a crude joke. So
it is a crude joke. Yeah. So once this is done, so we go to the topographical bureau, and so it's this one, right?
Yes, it's underneath there. Yep.
Perfect.
And then topographical bureau is removed. And we go to the next card. Josephine. So we have a wife. It is possible for our wife, I believe, to die. I don't remember the details of how that works out. But
there is card 135
so,
that might remove her. Yeah. So,
yes.
Yeah.
So in this case, because Desiree did not marry us, we failed to woo her successfully. We have another shot. And in this case, Josephine is sort of the opposite. She's easy to woo because she's politically savvy and wants to be your wife because it would help her gain, politically. But she's much less likely to bear a legitimate son. So,
but I get to roll immediately, and
yes.
Maybe I should put myself a +1p reminder.
I would do that. Yes.
Yeah.
So she is going to marry us, but we have to find out if she bears a legitimate heir.
9-10. That's going to be easy.
You've rolled lots of 9s and 10s, but not this time.
Not this time. So
we could use our luck to re-roll it. I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't either. Oh, but I'm going to roll once. I'm not going to try to have a child again with her. I only tried in 1796, and then I give up.
I think the roll is more of like a, do you ever have a legitimate heir?
Okay.
So yeah. Unfortunate.
Very sad. Very, very sad.
Well, Napoleon struggled to produce a legitimate heir as well.
He did. Yeah.
So. And unfortunately, we immediately take a left-hand turn into Josephine's infidelity. So.
Oh God! But I don't have any glory anyway.
So it's removed.
So actually, that's fine. We're in an open relationship. I have nothing to lose. That's right. Okay. I don't mind. And we go to 5.
Whiff of grape shot. So Napoleon has a close call. So we're gonna lose some glory and gain some political clout. Our near-death experience was enough to give us the ability to speak to current events. So +3p, and we remove the card from the game.
But it says must -2 glory. If I have no glory to lose,
you do as much of the must as you can. So in this case, it's must -2 glory and must +3.
That's actually so good to be at
0 glory,
unglorious. Yeah,
there is a little bit of a narrative element to that, to just say, hey, we are so irrelevant glory-wise that we have nothing to lose. And so we get some benefits without some costs. And that is an interesting point. There is actually, in the commander stack, Bernadotte is the commander I think you're actually thinking of, where if Desiree Clary is not your wife, Desiree gets removed from the game whenever you play Bernadotte, because historically I believe she married him.
Very good point, Deborah. Very good point.
So, and here is Brumaire. So this is actually a great kind of stopping point for our playthrough, just to kind of show, because this is the thing that would segue us into FCD if we were doing better.
Yeah.
So this is the seeds for the coup have finally been planted, and we now can clearly see our pathway to it. We need to have at least 20 glory and politics points combined. We currently have 6. And instead of campaigning on a turn, we will we'll execute the coup, and we roll, and on a 4 or less, the coup fails, and the game is over. But we already have a +2 DRM because of our Minister of Police. And if we could get Napoleon's brother in play, or if we had, I want to say,
and I mean, I have politics to spend also, so
it's listed at the bottom. Yeah, so we have politics points to spend, but if we had Bernadotte in play, or we had Abbe Sayes in play, those cards are also positive die roll modifiers for the coup. So we are in an okay spot right now if we could get the Egyptian campaign to happen. And yeah.
Okay, let's hope that we can make it. So a roll on 1 or 2, it stopped. And that's the end.
So on a 2, and that would be the end. So we wouldn't campaign this turn. And basically, we'd still have, if you look at the turn track, 5 more turns to get the necessary glory and politics points to get us over the hump. But I think that's probably a good place for us to to call it. I hope people got like a really good feel for the game and see the narrative possibilities. I think just so people, again, coming back around full circle, there is an expansion that Ted has already designed, which David, who is Agility Snips in chat. So hi, David. Glad you're here. David's developing along with me, and it has lots of fun new possibilities and unexplored avenues of Napoleon's life, and a modified way of drawing cards so that you actually get to experience the expansion cards alongside the base game cards without limiting your opportunities through card draw. So there's a lot of really cool stuff in that expansion. And then Ted has already announced that his next project using the same system will be I Gloriana, which will cover Elizabeth I. And I just think this is a really cool way to learn history, to do like an interactive study of the history of somebody's life, and to see the places where they got to make choices and the places where we really should laud their ambition or their decision making or their wisdom or whatever it is. And then the places where really life was handed to them. And I just think that's a fascinating deconstruction of the way that we think about these historical figures, where we tend to say Napoleon was great and look at his greatness and look at the things he accomplished. And in reality, Brumaire was the right place at the right time, and he took advantage of it. And that's what he should be given credit for. And so I really think that's an interesting way to explore history. And I think these interactive kind of narrative history games like this one are really fun ways to pass some time. Sometimes at the end of the day, I don't have the brain power for like a big, heavy, meaty game. And this is a great way to get a couple hours of storytelling that's really satisfying and fun. So
I'm going to remove the hat because it's actually hurting my head. It's
I'm glad you got to put it on.
Yeah, that's good. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I like this idea that you don't have full agency. You do have some, but you don't have full. I think that's interesting. And in that way, it reminds me of Legion of Honor. Even if Legion of Honor is more of a swashbuckling game, more than this one. And I thought it was really interesting. I like how the deck is made, the different characters. It has a bit of choose your own adventure, a bit.
That's right.
Aspect to it, which is quite interesting. The only thing that I'm surprised, but it might come out later down the line, is, as you say, like Brumaire, it was a political circumstance and everything. But I think there is also a big underlying current at the end of the revolution for, like some economical powers in France had a benefit of having a dictator at the head of state to preserve some of the things that was taken out of the revolution, like putting the aristocracy on the side, and also had some benefits of having a lot of wars. It was like the Vandal industry started at that time, starting to make a lot of steel, making cannons and stuff like this. And I'm wondering if this comes up, like the influence of some economical powers, making sure that we're maintained in power for material gains for specific sections of society.
Yeah, that does come through, not necessarily directly, but the benefit of having Napoleon be a dictator and be able to just make decisions is the overwhelming it's the overwhelming narrative arc of the EMD era. So when you become the first consul, you're actually squeezed between not being able to just make all the decisions and the need of France for a lot of decisive action. And so in FCD, you'll actually bleed off a lot of the glory that you have in the CMD era. And the number one thing to keep in mind is, when you sit down to play, you want to get through FCD really fast. The faster that you can get through it, the better for you, because then you are given the opportunities in EMD to put together a lot more of the glory that France got through military campaigning. And so military campaigning is basically mandatory to win this game. And so that's where the economics behind the campaign are modeled, is that Napoleon's glory is not just that he won on the battlefield, but also that he made people happy at home. And that is something that you'll have to plan for. So I really want to emphasize for people, like, a lot of the ugliness of what Napoleon did is in this game. Haiti is a card in this game that you will have to deal with. Napoleon's relationship with the Jewish people is something that's explicitly in this game that you will have to deal with. And the campaigning, the warfare, the constant need for warfare, both to deal with enemies abroad, but also just to prop up Napoleon's reputation as a military leader, is also something that you will have to plan for. And that's where most of the choice in this game starts to become more apparent, and you can plan beyond the turn. Because you noticed in our game, we were reacting. We weren't necessarily planning.
Yeah.
And that changes once you get to EMD. You start thinking about, when do I want to campaign against Austria so that I can try to force them into a treaty that will give me the maximum amount of glory?
Yeah, because it's true that in this first phase, and it makes sense thematically, that it feels like the game plays you, like the circumstances are
Very
imposed, and you have very limited choice. But I expect that when you succeed in the coup d'etat, you might have a lot more options of how you want to control things. And apparently that's what Alex is saying, how you get progressively more agency, which makes a lot of sense. And I think narratively tells a really interesting story. So that's very cool. Well, it was great that we could play together. Yeah, that was really fun. Now I want to set it on the table and play it a few times, see where I go, and maybe make a review of it, because I think, looking at it from this scope, I mean, when I started reading about it, like, I had some ideas about, actually the system could be really interesting to portray other kind of people. I was thinking Ho Chi Minh, it could be really awesome. Like, very rich life, a lot of stuff, like from being a student in France, the involvement in the French Communist Party, then going back to Indochina, the war against the French, then the war against the US. You also have a lot of commanders, a lot of things that you need to put in place. You have a lot of strategy and tactics and everything. And I was thinking, well, that could be, and you could also have this evolution of who Ho Chi Minh becomes during the course of play.
I think there are dozens of people that this would be a really great way to explore their life and to explore the contingencies of their life and the way that things happen to go. I would say, for those who are playing along at home or watching the stream later, and you have a seed of an idea, Ted would love to work with other people on this series. He said that both publicly and to me privately. What I think would make a good game in this series is what you just said, someone whose life has a richness, where there were things that happened to them that they got to choose, and things that happened to them that were outside their agency. I think that's important. I think another thing that's important is that their life went through some clear stages, and Ho Chi Minh's a great example of that. Someone who lived in multiple countries in different roles in different ways, and had clear transition points between those different parts of their life that you can put into the game to give players goals that they're trying to accomplish. Because that's really the heart and soul of this game, is the way that the deck transitions from one thing to the next. Everything else about the game is pretty wide open. I think you could do a game like this that had no board, just a tableau. I think you could do a game like this that had really thin decks that you didn't strip cards out of, but just constructed progressively from all the different types of things that could happen. I think there's a lot of ways we could go. And I'm really excited to see what Ted does with his next game. Like, I'm a fan. I really want to play it. And I'm excited about the opportunities to look at other major historical figures through this lens and see what it teaches us.
Yeah, I think it could be the beginning of a really interesting series. And as you say, I think the framework provides a lot of space for design innovation within it. So I think that's really cool. Great example here from Jan.
Caesar would be awesome.
Caesar would be awesome.
Yeah.
Of course. But yeah, I think that's actually that's really, really cool. I'm gonna play more of it. Maybe ask you some questions.
Absolutely. I want to hear how you like it. I want to hear what you love, what you don't love. And
well, I might do a review of it. And if I do some criticisms, they are constructive criticism for the future of the series. So that's the thing. Oh, by the way, I'm going to release soon, next week, I'm going to release a review that I made with Alexandre Fontaine-Rousseau. And I made a review of Red Flag Over Paris. So I think you'll enjoy
I can't wait.
this.
I can't wait.
I think that should be fun. So yeah, and for people watching us right now, know that this Sunday we have a stream like every Sunday at 9 p.m. French, 3 p.m. EST, and we're going to be playing New Cold War from VUCA Simulation. And what's coming up next? I don't remember. Let me check. Next week I will publish this review that I made with Alexandre Fontaine-Rousseau for Red Flag Over Paris, and we actually recorded a series of review. One is on Prelude to Revolution, another one is on Charioteer. So a bit late, but we finally got to play it and actually review it. And Deborah, that's a really good point. And I think Gloriana is you're taking the role of a woman. So the second one is actually that
Elizabeth I, and I think you could do this for so many women. One of the ones that I would really love to see would be for people to do some Native American women. I think there are some options there that are very, very fascinating. I also think that the women's suffrage movement in the United States would be really ripe for this. So I think that there are some options that people could start to explore. But Gloriana was Ted's top choice for the second game in this series. He did Napoleon because he knows Napoleon like super well, and the research was very easy. For Gloriana, I can see the wheels are turning, and he's doing a lot more like work to start to understand the narrative in a way that can translate to the system. So I'm excited to see great, historical figures, period. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for men and women to be included in that.
Yeah, definitely. One thing, so I was saying New Cold War on the 16th, and then on the 23rd, I'm going to have Adam on the show to talk about Echo from the Dark. So the next entry in ICS.
Yes.
Echo from the
from the Dark. Yes.
Echo from the Dark. So pretty excited about this. Really excited to learn more about it. I've just seen some screenshots here and there, some chatter on the Coin Discord server. So yeah, really excited to have him on. So in a couple of weeks, he's going to be there. We're going to chat. We're going to also talk about his work on Red Dust Rebellion, obviously. So yeah, really interesting to see him taking some ideas of historical games into sci-fi, something that I find quite interesting. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. If you wish to support the show, first thing that you can do is like the video. Second thing that you can do is subscribe. And third thing that you can do, the best thing that you can do, is donate on Ko-fi. And if you do, you'll have access to the amazing Discord server on which Pierre Vanier-Jones is providing free classes in Men of Iron. So if you want to learn Men of Iron, Pierre is completely open. He doesn't work. He doesn't have a life. He's not designing the future entry in Men of Iron. He's just here to provide classes of Men of Iron on the server. So if you want to have free teach and play every day, every night, he's here for you. So donate on Ko-fi, support the show, and join us there. Great, but thanks again, Jason. It was really cool to have you on.
It was great being here.
Thanks everyone who was on the chat. Alexandre is saying that he definitely enjoyed his Men of Iron tutorial. He actually had one, but in person. So you can actually go and live in Pierre's house for a couple of weeks if you want. So that's not pushing it, but yeah, that's one of the things. So thanks everyone. Have a good evening and see you on Sunday. Bye bye.